Well, most of the time I was in Japan, I had lost weight. I probably weighed about 135 pounds most of the time. So when I got back, I was still, 135, 140 pounds. Not very big. And I went to teach somewhere out in the Midwest, big city. Some guys invited me out. And we show up at an old YMCA. And we go in, and I'm following them, and we're going down. I think there might have been like a sub-level basement to the basement. And it was this huge old building where, they used to rent rooms and all that. And next thing you know, we're walking through these pipes and big steam pipes, and kind of like walking into who knows what. And then in the middle of all this, well, they had rented for this seminar was the judo room. And this judo room probably got set up like in 1950. And in the middle of this huge cavern, they must have been using coal when they built this building. And in the middle of all this, they're just framed in this little room, which was for the old judo club. And I wouldn't have been able to find my way out. I wasn't a very good ninja going in because I didn't leave my little marks or anything, because I didn't realize how deep we were getting into this. And there's about 40 or 50 people. I knew a few of them. And when we start class, everybody lines up, kneels down, and we have a little thing that we do in the beginning. And so I'm kneeling facing the crowd, and like 5 or 6 guys in the middle of the front row were pretty much NFL size. Certainly college football, if nothing else. These guys were freaking huge. They were their own front line. And the one right in front of me was wearing I didn't get it at the time, but Detroit, where the weak are killed and eaten. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a fun day. And we bow in and we get going. I'm, teaching some techniques. And then somebody asked about, the full Nelson, when you get your hands like that. So this is not a tournament. We're not competing. I'm supposed to be teaching, so I'm having to explain what I'm going to do, and we're going to show, how you teach. And I asked for a volunteer, and one of the biggest guys in the group came up. So his chin was probably on top of my head. And he got his arms up there like this. And I'm starting to explain what I'm about to do. And I had a particular technique that I was going to teach, which was the standard one, which is not my favorite because it doesn't work for me very well. But that's the standard one, and we start with that and then branch off. As I started to talk, the guy just went like this. It was so fast and so dangerous that, I don't know if you've ever had the experience when something like that happens where you actually hear something break, even though it didn't break. Your mind believes it happened already. I actually blacked out. My brain turned off because there's no way I could have kept up with it. I didn't know it was coming. I'm still to this day surprised that I didn't wind up leaving on a stretcher with a collar. I don't know what his problem was. Never met him before, but he apparently wasn't impressed so far. Or he was one of those idiots that's just, okay, I'm going to prove to everybody how cool I am by cranking on this guy, and I don't care if he's crippled for the rest of his life. I'll just, it'll be a good story to tell at bars when I'm impressing all the other little people, right? 'Cause I'm so big and strong, one of those guys. I basically blacked out, I guess a second or two later, I just kind of became aware, kind of came back in myself, and he was over there laying on his back with the wind knocked out of him. I wasn't even sure what I did, and that's probably the only reason that I didn't wind up crippled there. And I've had a few other instances of things happening where it was so right there, right now, that I left. You know, my brain shut down, and the only explanation I can come up with is thought process would have been too slow for the situation, and actually a couple times where I got hit and knocked out for like a second or two, and I woke up fighting, and it's because of the training. You know, when my brain got out of the way, all the years of repetitions and practice and training kicked into gear and kept me going instead of falling down. I mean, I've literally been knocked out on my feet and didn't stop fighting, which, you know, you'll see in boxers and people like that who do that kind of thing all the time. And that was one of the first times I really realized how well the training had worked. You know, when I couldn't even think of what I did, and my body actually created its own technique on the spot. Because if I had tried to do any of the techniques I had learned up to that point, I would have been injured. There's no way they would have gotten me out of, because he did, I mean, the way he put it on, not just that it was fast and hard, but the angles that he got in my head, there was no place to go. If I had tried to do any of the techniques I'd ever seen anybody else teach, I would have gotten hurt. But my body, the training somehow assimilated the spirit of the training, which is, you know, find the place. Where's the best place to be? And there's no way I could have done it if I thought about it. And then the people in the room actually helped me reverse engineer. Well, what happened? What did I do? You know, I knew I kind of did this type of thing, but we figured it out, and then I've been teaching that ever since. And it's worked on everybody, no matter how big, how strong,